Welcome to Small Ship Cruise Talk, a show where we share insider tips and first-hand experiences about this outstanding, yet lesser-known form of travel. We are passionate about sharing our knowledge about river cruises, expedition, yacht, and barge cruises, so you are informed when it comes to choosing your own vacation experiences. We're your co-hosts, Dan and Mikkel, and we are your cruise experts and the co-founders of Sometimes Sailing, a website that focuses on small ship cruising.
Hello, and welcome to Small Ship Cruise Talk. Today is an extra special episode because I'm so excited. My friend, my travel buddy from afar, even though we've actually never traveled together.
Amazing.
Amazing. My travel role model in so many ways, Dana Freeman, is here as our guest. I am solo today. Dan is off doing other things while the girls catch up. So I hope that you get so much from this episode listening in today, because Dana is going to talk about luxury small ship cruise experiences. And if anybody has amazing luxury experience in the small ship cruise world, it is Dana. So welcome, Dana.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you, and we need to rectify the not traveling together clearly and go on a small ship cruise together.
We really do. We would have the best time. God help anybody else that's there that feels our bond together, but including Dan.
I feel like we are literally the adage, two ships that pass in the night. We're very often on cruises, but not on the same one on the same river at the same time. So
that is the perfect adage for us. So if you don't mind, can you please introduce yourself in your own words to everyone?
Absolutely. So I'm Dana Freeman. I've been a travel writer for almost 15 years. I started in the family space, and then once my children grew and left, I decided to move more into things that appeal to just myself, or appropriate for myself and my husband. And that led me to luxury travel, and in particular, small ship cruising. And the way that I fell in love with small ship cruising is probably unique, if you could say. My grandmother was a solo traveler starting in the 50s. She got divorced, and there were all these women's sisterhood type travel opportunities. And so the best way to travel for her was on a cruise. It was the most comfortable. She always had companions, but they weren't her companions, had somebody to eat with at the table or go on an excursion with. And she, in her lifetime, went on 50 cruises.
Wow.
She had a true love of small ship cruising. I traveled with her during her life on other things, but in her 90s, she wanted to get back out there and travel, and she couldn't really do it alone. So she asked me if I would go with her, with my children, who were 8 and 11 at the time, and my husband. And I was like, of course, what an opportunity. And she's like, I want to go on a small ship cruise, which was Windstar, which was an interesting choice because there's no kids club. There's no typically any other children on that kind of cruise. And people are like, what are you doing? Why aren't you going on Disney? Blah, blah. And I was like, it's not really about that. It's about the experience of seeing the world with my grandmother in an easy way, and one that she loves. And, cruising is the best. You pack your bag once, unpack, see a bunch of countries. It just is an easy way for a multi-generational group like ours to travel around. And so at the age of 92, we cruised the Med. I think that trip was Barcelona, maybe to Nice. And we got back, and I thought, oh, this is it. We did it. Check that box. She'll feel good. She got back out there. And sure enough, we hadn't even unpacked our bags. And she's like, where are we going next year? And so for the next 4 years, we sailed on Windstar or Seabourn every year with my kids. So her great grandchildren, my husband, we went through the Panama Canal. We did the Med again. And as a matter of fact, we sailed out of Venice on Windstar to circumvent Italy on her 96th birthday.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And that was her last cruise. But 96 and traveling the world is pretty amazing. And I just continued it. I fell in love. I saw it. I understood the beauty of small ship cruising. You know everybody, but you don't know everybody, but everybody feels like they're familiar. And more importantly, it's about the destinations and the cruise. Sometimes on the larger ships, it's about the ship. People never even leave. the ship. They love it. But these small ships are really about the destinations, and small ships go into ports that big ships can't go to. And that kicked it off for me.
Ah, that's amazing.
Yes.
What a way to go out of your travel with that 96 circumventing the boot of Italy.
Yes. 100%. That's the way I want to go.
I was going to say, may we all be that lucky, right?
Yes, exactly.
Well, thank you for that great introduction. So you touched on Windstar, so a little tip of the iceberg, but for everyone listening, you are also going to get insight into Dana's wildlife encounters in the Galapagos on a 20-passenger relay and chateau yacht, to a helicopter adventure off of the Scenic Eclipse in Baja, Mexico, and also Dana's firsthand impressions of Ecoventura, Riverside Luxury Cruises, Seabourn, which you just briefly mentioned, and Windstar, of course, Crystal, Emerald, and Ponant. So if you have been curious about how these specific luxury small ships compare and what makes each itinerary and the ships and the cruise lines special, Dana's insider perspective is going to help you determine which of these exclusive cruising experiences might be your perfect fit. So let's continue diving into your experiences. I'm going to let you take it away and continue how you want on your own journey here with all of your amazing experiences.
So you touched on one of the most unique ones that I've ever done, small ship, aside from barge cruising, which is super small and on a canal, on a river. For anybody who hasn't done it, it's sort of interior. But one of the most unique ocean small ships I've ever been on was with Ecoventura. I think they have 3 of them now, but there's the Origin Theory and something else. They are 20-passenger relay and chateau yachts that sail 2 different itineraries in the Galapagos Islands. You typically fly to Ecuador, to one of 2 countries, and then another flight out to the Galapagos and start your adventure. And not only are the ships outstanding, but the food is phenomenal. I mean, it's 20 people. So you just get that really hands-on luxury touch of being on a ship that small, but has all of the toys and bells and whistles that you could ever want. I mean, the top deck for sunning is stunning. They do a barbecue up there. They have a bar. They have a gorgeous hot tub off the back of the yacht, which is key because you spend a lot of time snorkeling. A lot of people go to the Galapagos to snorkel. I personally am not a snorkeler, but am willing to do anything at least once. And I so enjoyed it. And one of the most interesting things is you do deep water snorkeling.
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
is that like going under, like your little snorkel that has the lifeline to the air is underneath?
No, it's more like they put you on a Zodiac. They take you way out into the ocean, so you're not like against the coral of a beach. They take you out into the ocean and drop you off the side. So you drift with the current,
Oh,
but it's cold. Even when the weather outside is, 75 or 80, the water out there is not all that warm. So that hot tub comes in really nicely when you get back. You always get back on in typical relay and chateau's luxury style. You get back on the boat. They hand you a cocktail, a little bite to eat, and then you can get in the hot tub or go up to the sun deck. But out there, you snorkel like literally with the sea lions. They come right up to your face. Yeah, it's super cool.
And it's not scary.
It's not scary until somebody's like, "Oh, I saw a shark," and then I, of course, did the universal signal. I'm like, "I'm out. Pick me up." Like,
Arms
get me.
crossed.
Yep.
We're done.
Yep. I was looking for the orange flag, and I was like, "I'm getting out." And you're supposed to snorkel with a buddy. And my poor husband was like, "Where's my buddy?" I'm like, "Over here in the boat."
I'm having a cocktail. I'm like halfway back to the ship.
So that's you can't sail on any large boats in the Galapagos. I believe the rule is 100-passenger ships, but this with 20 is really just ultra luxurious way to go. I mean, even the cabins, the bathrooms have windows in the shower, so you're always looking outside.
Oh, wow.
You have everything you could ever need, incredible binoculars and access to a whole library of books about the Galapagos, etc. So I know we only have a few minutes on each, so I won't spend too much time there, but
I've written about this forever.
I've written an article about it so people can check it out. But it's really, if you want to immerse yourself in a biology class for a week, that is the way to go. The guides are amazing, and you just learn all about the floral and the fauna and the animals, and it's great. Real
I
nature
love
trip.
that.
Yes.
And we'll have links to everything Dana's
Great.
referencing, including her social, in the show notes. So don't forget to check that out. Okay. Well, that was an awesome way to kick off or continue from Windstar to Ecoventura.
Next, we were going to talk about Riverside cruising. And actually, here's a perfect example of us passing in the night. We've both been on the same ship, but not at the same
Not at the
time.
same time.
I don't know about you, but I think that the most luxurious river cruise right now is Riverside Luxury Cruises.
I agree. And it's one of the lesser known because it's only been around a few years. So I can't wait till it blows up and we could say we knew it back when. But what I love about
Exactly.
this is if you're listening, you're in with us, you know about it now. So yeah, I just love that we are able to share the info here. So I'm excited for you to talk about Riverside. I agree with you.
Amazing. My first experience was on the Mozart. I did a really interesting itinerary from Budapest into Romania, which I never thought of cruising that direction. Everybody's been on the Danube and typically goes Budapest the other way towards Vienna. So that in itself was exciting to go to all sorts of new cities I've never been to, the Eastern European side of things. But I just felt from the minute I stepped on Mozart, the lushness of it, the velvet cushions and chairs, and like dining in the vintage room, which is a private dining space for just 12 people. And it's very elevated. It's a wine pairing dinner, to their suites. And I think what's most special, I mean, their suites are stunning and very over the top, but what's most special is their rooftop deck, which is just, I mean, that's why you go on a river cruise, is to spend time watching the world go by and all the beautiful towns from the roof. But theirs is over the top. They just have this incredible bar, which if you've ever seen it, it pops up, that pops down. It's sort of hidden when you need to go under the bridges. But they've got gorgeous furniture. A lot of river cruises just have, lounge chairs or tables. They have what feels like you're sitting in a luxurious lounge with comfy couches and teak furniture, and they do that gorgeous barbecue on deck. They even have a green egg. And the Mozart, as you know, is a double wide ship, so there's even more space. They even have an indoor pool and jacuzzi in their spa. I mean, a lot of spas on a river cruise are small. You can't help it that their space is limited, but these guys really, they did it right. They gave a lot of space to their spa, which is a really nice treat, especially for those days where the weather might not cooperate, which happens.
That's true.
The Mozart has, an extra restaurant compared to the other, but I know you're about to
Yeah,
cruise on one of the ships. I'm going
we
on
are.
the Revel in France on the Lavender cruise.
And once again, we're missing each other.
I know, by days, I feel like.
Yeah, we're going on Debussy. So all of Riverside ships are named after composers. Mozart's an easy one to realize that with, but we are going on the Debussy and you are going on Ravel. At least the saving grace is that we won't be right near each other.
I know, right? Otherwise we could wave. But yeah, I'm really excited. I'm doing this. I'm going from Avignon to Lyon, which is just, I mean, the south of France. You can't beat it. And doing it with Riverside is such a treat because they just elevate their excursions and the entertainment and the things. They just blend that in so nicely. It's just such an experience. And then you feel so glorious when you get back on the ship, like you're wrapped in a blanket of luxury.
We'll have to have you back on so we can talk about the two different itineraries, but with the same cruise line. That would be really cool.
Totally. And I think the lavender one, they do this itinerary, but there's special excursions that take you to the lavender field and that. So if you ever want to go, the end of June, beginning of July is the time to do that.
That's amazing. And also going back to what you said about the interiors on Riverside, one of the things that makes it ultra luxurious to me is those finishes. And when you said velvet, I just was like taken back because I love they have these green velvet chairs in their lounge that are just so good.
I know. They're stunning.
The marble finishes, but so tasteful. Nothing's gaudy. It's just so tasteful, the interiors.
And how about the fireplace in the suite? Yes. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
If you ever wanted to feel super spoiled, this is the line for you. If you want to do a river cruise. I
love that. That's a perfect place to end our Riverside conversation for now.
And so moving on to Seabourn, which I touched on, I Actually sailed on my first Seabourn trip was when Windstar owned some of those ships. I think they owned some of the yacht style, but I've recently been on the Seabourn Ovation, which is gorgeous. And I felt like that's for people who don't really like, oh, I can't go on such a small ship. This is like your small, happy medium ship, right? It's 690 feet long. It's 300 passengers, but it's a little bit bigger. So it offers more spaces, more dining options, a little bit more entertainment. I hear that a lot. People are like, oh, I don't want to go on a small ship because I won't have all of those choices. Seabourn blends this perfectly, I think, as an option. I will tell you, one of my favorite hidden gems on Novation, there's the main pool in the center, right, that everybody always congregates around. You could see it from the whole ship, depending on either side you're on. But there is a pool in back. I think it's level 5 that most people don't go to. So you always know that there are spots for you. The
I love
other the
that.
other favorite spot of mine is the front up top. Always a good place to sneak off and find a lounge chair, when everybody's congregating. But I love little touches like Seabourn Square, right on the Ovation is where you'll find it's like a hub, but it doesn't feel too much activity. It's where the concierges are. There's a coffee shop there, get a little bite to eat. The shops are sort of around the edges, but it elevates and makes you feel like you're somebody special on board. There's always 4 different concierge desks, and you can always chat with them and they can help you with everything. It doesn't feel like the lobby of a gigantic resort.
Hmm.
So I appreciate that. I really enjoy that. Some of their suites have hot tubs that face face the outdoors if you stay in an elevated suite. And I think one of the things that if you're traveling for the luxury aspect is the retreat, which is a rooftop with canopies and its own hot tubs, and you have sort of your own service for the day, and you pay a little bit extra for that, or I believe it might come with some of your plans with some of your suites. But again, if you want to make your small ship even smaller, that's a nice way to do it.
We love the ship within a ship concepts, especially
Yes.
on bigger ships. So even knowing that it's an option on a ship with, around 300 passengers to even make it more intimate is great to know and very helpful.
Yes.
Where did you go with Seabourn? I know you said you went with grandma. What is your
Well,
grandmother's name?
Mildred.
Mildred.
And she's since passed away. It's been a
I know, but
decade,
I
but
feel
yeah,
like she's here in spirit.
I think she is. That one was with her when it was a Windstar ship, I think was probably the Med, but this one on Ovation was Spain and Italy. I have a thing. I know you can cruise the whole world, but I had a thing for the Med in the summer. I mean, you can't beat it. And the small ships, they all go into these tiny ports. So, or, you tender in if you can't get into the port.
Yeah, yeah. And we've talked about this too. Dan and I have talked about that tendering on a small ship is way different than a big ship. On a big ship, it could take you over an hour. And if you're not right at the port on a small ship and you need to tender in, even that feels like a luxury experience because it's like very quick.
Yes. And they run them back and forth. It's almost like no schedule. They're just continually doing it. So you can go back and forth whenever you want.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. On some of them, on some of the lines.
Speaking of Italy, let's talk about your Emerald Itzora experience and also your Ponant experience in Italy.
Okay, so Emerald was my first dip into yacht style cruising. It was a few years ago. I don't know if you would agree, but that was like a new buzzword, yacht
Yes.
style
I
cruising.
think it still is. I
Yeah.
think people are still learning about it.
And clearly it's a success because Emerald now has 3 of these ships. When I cruised with them, it was just the first 2.
Yeah.
It's 50 staterooms, 100 passengers, and they don't skimp on anything. The pool off the back deck on this with its glass waterfalls, you can see out from being in the pool to the Missoni ropes and towels and the little cafe. It's just perfect. There's 7 decks. The hot tub is on the top deck, but every little touch felt elegant to me and high level. I really enjoyed it. We stayed in a regular size suite and it still felt large. There was room for an inn style chair and a beautiful bathroom with a heated towel bar and all, tiled in and stunning. We had a little balcony, which in cruise world would be considered oversized. Sometimes balconies aren't. They just have to give you a Julian balcony or a French balcony. They have espresso machines. I mean, every little touch I felt was fantastic. There's a restaurant, one main restaurant that has open style seating. You can sit inside or it spills over into the back, which is lovely because in Europe, who doesn't want to sit outside? And then there's an actual, for a small ship, it had the extra restaurant. There's something called the Aqua Cafe around the pool. So if you want to mix it up and not eat every meal in the one restaurant. But I felt like they did a great job with the main restaurant, changing it up. So every morning for breakfast or dinner, it felt different. The way they did the service or the style of the food. And they really tried to incorporate local into their food, which I really like. So depending on what port you were in, if that port was known for, we were in Italy, so lemons, the lemon trees, there were a lot of lemon dishes throughout, even down to the dessert and the decor on the table. So that's really a thoughtful touch, I think.
I think another thing about Emerald yachts, like Emerald Azzurra, is that when you're in a port, you feel like a rock star because, like, everybody looks at the ship like, "Whoa, that is gorgeous," and you're like, "I get to go back on that ship."
100%. And the back that comes down the water platform. What a treat. I love, ships that have that. Big ships don't have that at all. Windstar has it. This ship does, a couple of others, but that's a super treat after touring a city all day to come back and have that gorgeous water platform to just swim or go on the trampoline or take out a sea bob or whatever it is.
The
Yes.
sea bobs, yes, all of the above. Those are like those fun little motorized. They're almost like I was trying to describe this to somebody at a pool party this week. They're like a kickboard, like when you hold it and you like kicking your feet when you're a child, but it's like that, but the advanced
It's
adult
like an
version.
electric bike, but a kickboard version.
I love that.
You can just get a little oomph if you just can't
Right.
continue on yourself.
And you will not find those on non-luxury ships because they're a big investment for the
Yes,
ships.
agreed.
Yeah, very luxe.
Agreed. So you mentioned Ponant. Ponant, I was on the Bougainville. That was another European. You can tell my theme. I did that around Italy. It was 12 days because I did it with Abercrombie and Kent. And
Yes, so unique.
I had never done a cruise with a tour company, a luxury tour company, and I wanted to experience what's the difference. I mean, why wouldn't I just book a night on the front end or the back end myself? What do I need the tour? It is a lot of hand holding in a great way. The A&K team is called the Blue Shirts, or at least on this trip, so you can always find them because they're in their casual blue
Okay.
shirts. And they follow you around or they segue you from place to place in a very non-intrusive way. And they always have the water that you need. They always have the directions. If you're like, you know what, you don't want to go on this tour, you want to go off and see the Uffizi by yourself, meet us back here. Very, just you felt like your hand was held in just the right luxury way. The Ponant ship is French, so you can definitely feel the French touches on board in the decor and in the service and in some of the things that you experience. They have a theater, and so every night the port talk was in there by an expert, an A&K expert about where you're going. I'm sure you know the port talk is really important for those who are going on a small ship for the educational aspect. They're not just sailing into a port and want to feel like, oh, okay, we're going to go on a walking tour of Florence. They give you more the in-depth part of things so that you go into it knowing more about what you're doing, which I find is the extra luxury part of taking a trip like this.
Absolutely. And access to those people that are giving the talks.
Yes, 100%. So they have a beautiful theater to have those talks in, post and pre. There's always a debrief at the end of the day. Their spa, it's worth mentioning, is a Southeast Paris spa. They use all Caritas products. They have hair care and nail care, which is not always available on a small ship. They just don't have room for it. So if you're a spa girl like me, they have those things. They also have a water platform. A unique thing about their pool is they have the what they call it, the counter current
Oh,
system.
yeah.
So for those who like to exercise and swim, that's a really nice touch as well. You can get in the pool and just uh, counter
Yeah, you don't hear about
current
that a
swim. Yeah,
lot
no,
on
you
other
don't.
ships. No.
No, mostly the pools are just small for a dip off, but
Yeah.
this is one. There's 92 cabins and suites on this ship.
Great
And
size.
they're all done, yep, by French designer, architect. So they're just stunning. Lots of floor to ceiling windows, lots of modern velvet touches. They have rather than just a table and two chairs for eating, they have like a full banquette. which gives it a little elevated feeling. And then their dining is fabulous. They have a grill, and then they have the Nautilus for indoor outdoor dining. I felt myself eating outdoors, obviously, a lot as an option because, again, you're in Italy. Why not? So,
Why not? I like
yes.
that. Why not?
And the last eye-popping, I think, dining thing for them was a lot of champagne and caviar.
Okay.
Yes.
Sign me up.
Yep. So there's a lot of that. I felt like we had a lot of coming back in the afternoon to some caviar and champagne rather than just your typical come back and have a little snack on board. And then the other thing worth mentioning is they have a very James Bond-ish underwater lounge. It's called the Blue Eye Bar. So after dinner, that's open, and it's just like a 1960s vibe. And there's a window that looks out to the sea, but from underground. So
is it like a lower deck? And
Yes,
it's
lower
literally
deck.
underground?
Yes.
Why don't more ships do that?
I don't know. Because at night you can't see anything anyway, right?
Right.
But to be like up against the window with the water like coming by, and if I recall correctly, don't quote me on this. I think it was piped in some of the sound from outside, but I could be wrong.
Look, it could be fake, piped in. It's fine.
Sure.
It's all about placemaking.
And this ship does have 2 formal nights, which I kind of feel like has gone by the wayside, but that elevates things a bit. They have a captain's welcome and a gala dinner. So if you like that luxury, get dressed up feeling, that's nice.
Right. A lot of people do like that, and it's hard to find these days, and it is part of what makes it different from your everyday. Even if you live a luxury life, it makes it different. So that's a really nice thing to know. For people listening unfamiliar with Ponant, because you mentioned that it's French.
Yes.
Just to clarify, is English the language spoken on the ship?
100%. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I've yet to find a ship. I mean, maybe I haven't cruised on them all, but where you would be uncomfortable if English was your first language, that you weren't spoken to in English or had somebody speaking to you in English to find somebody. But yes.
Love it.
And that was, a little bit bigger than Azora, but yacht style. I think one of my most exciting small ship out of my comfort zone, aside from the deep water snorkeling, which was in itself just a treat, but new for me, was sailing on the Scenic Eclipse. I did the itinerary in Baja, Mexico. I'm not sure they're still doing that, but that's I was there, and I'm sure other cruise lines go to Baja if you're interested in that sort of arid desert, kind of like the Galapagos vibe.
Yeah, it did look like that. Of course, I follow all your travels as you're doing them.
But more importantly about the ship, they have 2 very special things you can choose between, or I suppose you could do both. They have an underwater submarine. Yes. Or they have a helicopter that launches off the back of the ship. I did the helicopter. And to this day, everybody is like, really, Dana? I just never saw you doing that. Why would you do that? The whole thing. But unbelievable. It's a pilot and 5 passengers. I was front and center right next to the pilot, and you're like in a big globe. You take off from the ship and you go out and around. And I mean, although seeing all the landscape was super cool, coming back in like a rock star and landing right on the ship on the helipad, unbelievable.
Speaking of James Bond.
Very James Bond moment. So that's just a super cool. I think having those 2 things on this ship is pretty unique. They have something called the chef's table, which is a little bit different. I know a few ships have that, where you eat in the kitchen at the chef's table. It's sort of hidden behind the main dining room. You go in through the main dining room and you eat at the chef's table. They have the night market, which is another small, intimate dining experience that's different from everybody else. It's like 7 or 8 people with a chef in a small back room. I think for me, one of the standout things was the spa on this, because they got the infrared sauna and the cold and hot plunge pool Nordic circle thing, or Nordic circle, Nordic, what do you call it? Like, you go through the circuit is the word I'm looking for, which I think is pretty unique. Again, they've given over a lot of space to their spa, and I got to tell you, the cold plunge pool and then into the sauna or into the steam room, and not to mention the massages if you book those, but every guest can use, whether you book a massage or not, you can use the circuit.
I was going to ask, is that open to all guests, and that's included in the cruise fare?
Included in the cruise fare.
Yeah. You reminded me on Azura, they have that infrared room as well that is open to all guests.
I think that was the first time I was ever in an infrared sauna. I think
Mhm.
it's a new thing. It's fabulous. I mean, I got to tell you, I felt different.
Yeah.
Felt great. So yeah, so I really enjoyed Scenic as well. It has that yacht profile, that yacht style
Yes.
profile, but just a little bigger. It's not a 50 cabin. I believe it's double the size.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely another sexy ship.
Yes, very.
Beautiful. And I love that you touched on the submarine and the helicopter because it's an interesting way that these luxury yachts can bring adventure on board
Right. It's
to take you off board.
right. Absolutely. A little different than just landing on a beach and then taking a tour with a guide or anything like that. It's a different way to see nature, get up close and personal with the terrain.
Yeah. So those were all your amazing experiences. And you had mentioned the ports that these ships can go to because they're smaller. And
Mhm.
that's something that I really value about small ship cruising. Part of the luxury is that you're not one of thousands in these ports.
Absolutely.
So if anything comes to mind, putting you on the spot here,
Mm.
are there two ports of all these adventures that really stood out as luxurious because of the ships that were able to take you there that nobody else could get to?
Well, it's pretty well known, but on Azora, I went to Portofino, and that's just luxury, luxury, luxury. You have to anchor and come in, and that is boutique shopping and just the pinnacle of Italian, I think, luxury ports, if you will. We didn't even stay in Portofino because a lot of other cruise ships go there. They scheduled a tour for us to take us out of Portofino and around to Ravenna, I believe, is the port. And so you get to drive along the stunning emerald blue coast and see the water, and you're sort of like right on the edge looking down the whole time, and you get to a town. And we did an amazing wine tour there. I would say that's quite a luxurious port. I'm trying to think. I'm so fortunate. I've been to so
I
many places.
know.
And I wouldn't say it was a luxury port, but it was a luxury experience.
Yeah.
With Crystal, I was in Sicily and we went to Palermo and we did an excursion called Cooking with a Duchess. And so we met her. We went shopping in the market to her vendors, picked
Okay.
up everything for a meal, and then we went back to her. They don't call it a castle, they call it.
Like whatever her chateau
Yes, exactly.
was.
Went back to, she's a true duchess, went back to her home and sprawling, gorgeous, overlooking the sea, lots of terraces and decks. And then we all crammed into her tiny Italian kitchen and made lunch together. Like we did all the cooking. And then we went into her ginormous dining room, which was set with crystal and china, and ate the food that we prepared, but served to us by a staff, white gloves and tuxedos and all.
That's
So,
amazing. I love that the kitchen was so small
oh,
and the dining room was so big.
100%. We all couldn't even get in there like at the same time. Like you had to almost step back and take turns, but it was a treat. That was a super experience. That was with Crystal.
Do you call her Duchess?
Mm-hmm. You too.
I love it. That's amazing.
Yes.
Well, I'm already planning trips in my head, hopefully once we can go on together. But this was so wonderful to hear about your luxurious experiences. I could talk to you forever about these. So we're definitely going to have you back on. You can follow Dana on Instagram. She is Dana H. Freeman. So DANAH as in Harry, FREEMAN. And she is the same on Threads. It is in the show notes. So follow you because a picture is worth 1,000 words to go with this podcast. So please follow Dana. Threads is great. Replacing X for many people, but that's another conversation.
Different podcast.
Different podcast. Not this one, but different podcast. And do you have any final words about the articles we're going to put in the show notes or any other thing that you'd like to share about luxury small ship cruising?
Most of the ships that I've talked about, I've written about, and I shared all those articles. I also have a portfolio on my website that lists it all. But I would say I am about to go on the Riverside Luxury Cruises Revel the last week in June. That's a good time to follow me on Instagram on my stories because I do a lot of behind the scenes showing you what it's really like, not staged. I just go with the flow and just show you what it's going on as you board a ship, what it's like during check-in, what the bathrooms really look like, how many towels you have, etc.
Also, because stories disappear, do you do highlights of your stories for anyone listening after June
I
2025?
do. And actually, if you look at my highlights right now, I have most of the cruises that I've been on. I have the entire story from that cruise on there.
Fantastic.
Yes.
I love it. Okay, so everybody check Dana out. Whether you do it now or if you're driving, please do it later. Come back to the show notes and look her up because you are just going to be in awe of all her adventures. And I promise you are going to start planning your own trip. Also, check our show notes because we have somebody who can help you do that. We are not travel agents, but we have a recommendation for great travel agents. Travel the world, see it more. And Dana, thank you for helping us do that today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really am honored that you had me on.
Likewise, I'm honored you're on, and we will have you back on. Talk soon.
Talk soon. Bon voyage.